Kleenex, Jessica? I wasn't kidding. I don't know about you guys, but I've been an emotional mess like the last week or so, so forgive me if I cry like a little bitch up here. But anyways, hi, I'm Christy. Let's see here. So I'll start from the beginning. I was born, I was number 3 out of 4 girls. And my poor dad, I was the closest thing he got to a boy, which is one of the reasons why I have such a hard time like crying in front of people and stuff, because I was always the tough one. But anyways, I lived on a little blueberry farm in Rickreall. My mom thought we were like the next like Little House on the Prairie or something. I don't know. It was like a little hobby farm. We had everything but pigs, thank God. But yeah, it was a pretty good childhood, I would say, for the most part. Me and my mom, though, we definitely butted heads. I was her difficult child, I guess you could say, and she was very physical when it came to punishment with me. She's very hands-on, you could say. And so from a very, very young age, like, I resented her. Like, I resented women, and I was always the daddy's girl. So to this day, me and my mom still do not have a very good relationship. But I don't know, we're working on it, right? So when I was about 11, they decided to get a divorce. And of course, I chose to live with Dad. And so my mom moved away. And so my oldest sister had a couple, like her own little young ones, and was living in Canby. So my mom went ahead and moved over there because that's where her grandkids were. So it wasn't like she just like left us or whatever, but you know, I get it. But so it was pretty much me raising my little sister, because my other sister that was older than me was almost graduated from high school, and she had a boyfriend and fiance, whatever, so she was barely home. So it was pretty much me and my little sister and my dad, and I was left to take care of everybody. And so I matured very quickly, I guess you could say. And, I met a boy, and he took my virginity, and then a few months later, he knocked me up. And so at 16, I got emancipated, because I was ready to be an adult and raise a child. That was probably the best thing I ever did. One of my biggest accomplishments. And he actually turned out pretty good so far, so I think I did all right. But that was, again, yeah, my dad was not happy about that, you could say. So I was a mom, and that obviously did not work out. So then I was a single mom. Then I decided to have another kid that was actually planned. No, I was not married. And that didn't work out either. But I got my boy and my girl. So it's really all what I wanted. So anyways, so let's see here. Went through a really tough custody battle, though, with her father. It was not pretty by any means. And was single for quite a while after that, needless to say. And I did pretty good on my own. I was managing a bar. You know, I was going on vacations to Hawaii and doing all sorts of fun stuff. And then I met another boy, and we got into pills. And I did not know that you could get like physically dependent on them. So I remember calling him at work one day, and I was like, I think I've got the flu. Like, don't come over, I'll get you sick. He was like, oh no, you're just withdrawing. And I'm like, what? Wait, what? And so obviously, being a single mom of 2 children, like, I can't just be sick in bed for a few weeks. So I had to stay well. And very quickly, that was no longer fun, and consumed my life completely very quickly. My dad basically had to move home from Alaska to like help me raise my children, because my relationship was so chaotic, and I couldn't hold down a job. Weird. And so he started basically like raising my kids for me, and mom would like have to run an errand and be gone for 4 hours. So yeah, I definitely was not mom of the year. And that probably lasted about two and a half years. And then I started dabbling in heroin. And I tried it like maybe 2 or 3 times because I couldn't, find pills. And that's when I was just like, holy shit, like, what the fuck are you doing, right? So I admitted to my dad that what was going on, finally, because I was denying it forever, like he didn't know something was up. And I wanted to move over to Eastern Oregon to a friend, just because I thought it was like the people and places, things and stuff. I thought if I just ran away, I'd be fine. And who knows, maybe we would have lived happily ever after, but we never got that far because my daughter's father called up CSD and told him I was on drugs. And I actually used my daughter's pee because, I was doing pills and I didn't want him to know. And they said she popped dirty for heroin. And how am I supposed to tell CSG that, like, I use my kid's piss? And then I was just like, that's going to be, like, all sorts of other charges, you know what I mean? So, like, I was really confused. I wasn't even sure how that could even possibly happen because I'd only tried it a couple of times and I knew she had never tried it. So I kind of felt hopeless at that point, like, who's going to believe me over them? And my kids were taking them from me. And I did everything that they asked, and they told me that they were going to return them to me. And instead, I was served with a restraining order, a temporary endangerment order, and when I went to go talk to them about getting my kids back. And so that was fucking hard, obviously. Changed my life completely because all I ever known was like to be a mom since I was 16 years old. Now like these kids are just being ripped. I can't even contact them. Like it was my fucking daughter's birthday and I wasn't there. Like I didn't miss shit. And so I sat in a hotel room. Oh, because we had a house fire a week before this happened. So I'm in a hotel room and I'm trying to detox off pills and shit. I just lost my fucking kids. And my boyfriend, who I was getting loaded with, is like in Eugene telling me he's working when really he's just dealing drugs. And I'm like just left to like pick up the pieces by myself, or try to. Needless to say, I failed at that. And instead of withdrawing, I eventually just started using heroin because it was easier and cheaper. So by the time I went through the court processes and all that, I was homeless. I was a heroin addict. Like, I had trumped up a few charges that were pending, but it was enough to use them against me. So yeah, I lost custody of my kids. And my life quickly, spiraled. Eventually, I did get charges that stuck. And I was a convicted, multiple felon within a year. When they locked up Christy, there was no bail. There was, public safety holds put on me. Because, yeah, I was pretty much a menace to society. So I had 28 months hanging over my head, and I got out of jail about 3 years ago. And that's when I was first introduced to the rooms. And I kind of dove into it for the most part. Obviously, this life was never something that I wanted. And so I did pretty good for a while. I got, went into inpatient eventually so let me back up a little bit. So overdosing is a huge part of my story. Because I would get some clean time, but then I'd relapse, and I'd end up dead within 24 hours. And that happened, so often that the outpatient program was we can't even legally, keep her. She needs to go to jail until we can get her into inpatient for her own safety. Because they're she's going to die. And legally, we're aware of all these overdoses and her pissing dirty and, all this stuff. So they were just that's pretty much what they did. They threw me in jail. I finally, they were quick to get me a bed, though. So I went into inpatient. When I got out of inpatient, that's when I went to the rooms and stuff. And I had about 6 months clean. I thought I could go back to bartending, because I had everything figured out, and I was good. So I went back to bartending, That lasted, I don't know, maybe like 4 weeks before I had a Mexican drop like, I don't know, a huge chunk of heroin in my purse and was like, let me know how it is. I'm like, thanks, I'll let you know. And so yeah, again, I lost everything really, really fast. I had to move out of the place that I was living because I was at New Options, and obviously I wasn't clean. So I ended up getting a place on 45th and Lee Street. Yeah, that quickly turned trap. Classiest part of town, let me tell you. So, you know, and I can't even believe I had my kids, like, there visiting me. Like, we had a shooting, like, anyways, it was all bad, all bad. But, yeah, I went on a run for probably like 7 months, I want to say, where, you know, I had warrants and all sorts of things going on. I was kind of like wondering why my PO wasn't showing up to like arrest me. I got caught up, me and my boyfriend again, same one, same dude. He told me he wanted to get clean and all this stuff, and at the time I was trying to get clean again, and so I let him, you know, come live with me, and yeah, he was not trying to get clean. He was, you know, just started dealing drugs out of my house within days, and so yeah, that's why I said it turned trap real quick. And he got us involved in cartel, and we were dealing for them. I was not aware that we had like racked up a debt of like 12 grand. Needless to say, I ended up kicking him out of my house, and next thing you know, I'm getting woke up like a few days or maybe a week later to like them knocking on my door looking for him. I didn't even know that they knew where we lived, but they did, and they wanted their money. And he was actually living with a best friend of mine at the time that had like little children on their farm and all this stuff, and I knew like that would be all bad if I told him where he was located. So I played dumb and just told him that I would like do whatever I needed to do to like work off this debt. And so they pretty much owned me. Like I had to do all sorts of fun stuff, and I remember like begging the guy to be a trafficker, like a mule, because then I wouldn't have to see the things that I had to see them do to these people to like go collect money and shit like that from them, right? And the positions and shit that I was putting myself into, like I knew I was gonna end up dead or fucking raped or something, you know what I mean? And that's like the only thing that probably hasn't happened to me yet. So I just wanted traffic for him, you know, and I was like trying to get him to let me do that because that was like, you know, better than what I was doing. But apparently I wasn't extendable enough. And so they wouldn't let me do that. Well, that and my fucking face is all picked off. If I got, like, I would have never crossed the border. They would have totally known I had drugs on me. I mean, so there's that. Like, they're just like, no, like, you just scream addict. Like, yeah. So that could have been part of it. So, anyways, but yeah, so by the time that went on for a few months, and luckily I was hanging out with another crowd that was all bad. I just didn't know how bad. But when I was getting raided and they wanted the people in the house more than the drugs, I knew that they had to have been busy, let's put it. And yeah, I was like, I know all this is not for me. I mean, you know. So that day was like the best day of my life, though. I remember going to jail, and I went, you know, I was there for Thanksgiving, a few holidays. I don't know. I was just like the happiest person there on Thanksgiving. Like everybody else was so mad. I was like, I'm just happy to be alive. Like, let's eat some fucking turkey. Like, and you know, it was like, it was just this huge relief because I thought I was going to prison. They were trying to revoke me, and because I had been on zero tolerance for like 2 years and completely fucking up that zero tolerance. So they wanted to revoke me, and I remember the judge was like, well, if I release you, what's going to be different? Like, why should I? And my dad's, like, in the crowd, and I couldn't tell if he was, like, ragingly, like, pissed because he was so red in the face or if he was on the verge of crying. But I was, like, at that point, I was like, you know what, dude, like, at that point, like, I thought that I deserved that life, that, like, nothing was going to change, like, but that was just it for me, like, at that point. And so I told him, I was like, honestly, absolutely nothing's going to fucking change if you let me out, like, probably not. I'm homeless at this point. My dad moved me out of my house because he thought I was going to prison. Like, if I'm out on the streets, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And so I was like, it's probably a good idea just to take me to prison. Like, and I was sitting there thinking, like, I'm going to get rehabilitated in fucking prison. And, 28 months will fly by. And then he was like, yeah, well, I'm not going to do that. And I remember looking at my dad, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on right now? And he basically, I guess he had a really soft heart for people that had kids. And in my PO's report and stuff, it talked a lot about that. And I mean, obviously, they were discussed in the courtroom as well, but I don't want to keep crying. So anyways, he was like, I'm going to give you another chance. And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, like, if I'm not going to prison, like, I knew I had to change every aspect of my life, like my people, big time, places, things, like everything, right? So as I sat there in jail doing my time, my dad, when I got transferred to Polk County, then he started coming to see me. And I remember telling him at that point, I was like, when I get out of here, I'm going to have to leave the kids and go to New York, like to my mom's, and stuff, so I can get some clean time under my belt and get away from these people that I'm associating with. And like it was kind of down to the point where it was like a safety thing. And my dad like totally agreed because he knew to an extent what was going on, and knew how bad it had gotten. So he was like ready, had a one-way ticket to New York, like when I got out of jail, like he was ready to send me. But when you're on probation, that's not exactly something that's so easy to do. And for me, the thought of having to sit my children down, even though my son's old enough, I think he would understand. It was my daughter that I knew I couldn't tell her that your mom needs to leave again and not be like part of your life, so I can get my shit together. Like, I know some people need to do that, but that was just something that I knew. Like, I knew in my heart that I was probably strong enough to do it if I wanted it bad enough. And obviously, I have to do it for myself ultimately. But she deserved it too. Like, they deserved it too. And I had a feeling that if I went to New York, I'd never make it back. Like, that was literally like a one-way ticket. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to end up getting stuck here and I'll never come home and I'll never see my kids again. So maybe that was just the fear that kept me from going. But anyways, I knew that if I had changed every aspect of my life and things like that, I could probably be successful. And I had had a taste of recovery previously, so I knew where to go and who to contact and what to do. So my dad was pretty upset, though. I remember for a long time that I didn't go to New York, and he like kept asking my PO, like, why aren't you sending her? Like, why won't you let her go? And all this stuff. And he was just like, there was just stipulations to it and things like that. And then the fact that I started backing out on it too, and then eventually just getting swept under the rug. But I knew my dad was just scared shitless, which I don't blame him. But so he did not let me out of his sight once I was released from jail. I remember like a friend from NA wanted to like take me bowling. He's like, absolutely not. Like, you're not leaving my house. I'm like, I'm 33 years old. I can't leave my dad's house. Like, it was bad. And then, so I was like, okay, well, I have to hurry up and get into Oxford. Like, or else I'll just like live here with my dad, go fishing every day for the rest of my life. So, yeah, I got a hold of Mariah, and I got into an amazing house, which I have not left, and I've been there for almost a year now. And that's another thing that I want to go into is kind of what's happened to me over this last year, because I have, I got a sponsor right away. I got myself into Oxford. I actually work steps, like I pick up that book. I may not do a whole lot of writing, but I mean, I can talk her ear off, so it's good. I went to meetings every day to the point where even though I have over a year now, like if I'm bored, I just go to a meeting because it's kind of become routine, that sort of thing, because it keeps me from forgetting where I came from, because when I had that 6 months before, I thought I had it all figured out. I think that's kind of like where I went wrong, like I mean, obviously I was bartending and not being able to make it to meetings and things like that, but like that's one thing that I know I cannot forget, because I'm really resilient and I get it all back really quick if I'm a very motivated person, I guess you could say. And I remember my PO always telling me like that's like a huge downfall for you because you forget so easily. Like you forget you have overdosed fucking over 10 times, Christy. Like you forget, that like the shit that you go through, like, and I do. I'm that type of person where, like, if somebody does me wrong, I usually forget about it. I'm just like, oh, like, okay, like, forgot about that. Like, thanks for reminding me. Like, whatever. Which, I guess is a good thing, but it can be dangerous, though, too. Very dangerous. So, I always go to meetings and stuff like that because there's always a newcomer or somebody that doesn't have very many days clean. It just reminds me that it's not working out there. And I need that sometimes. So after I think I was like on an 8th step or something like that, I had somebody reach out to me and ask me to sponsor them. And I wasn't really like planning on it, but I figured it was kind of like a God shot because I was feeling a little stagnant in my recovery at the time. And even though I hadn't made it through all 12, I knew I could get her like 1 through 8. So I said yes. And I picked up like another one along the way. And so that's kind of cool. But those are things that I do for my recovery today, like to give back. And I in the year that I've been clean, I've lost my grandpa. But I don't know how many holidays I showed up to his house, and I was like so skinny and fucking haggard that like I don't even know if he recognized me. Like he's like hugging this person, and he's like, I don't fucking know what grandkid this is. Like, is she even family? So like the fact that like that last like it was probably about 6 months I had clean before he passed. He got to see me clean, and I was healthy, and I actually showed up to the hospital, and was there. For my family and for him. And so that gave me like a lot of relief. And like, I think I was probably the happiest person at the funeral, which is like, everybody's all sad. I'm just like, I'm fucking like healthy and I'm not loaded today and I'm here. And you want me to read what? Like, so I actually like had to go up there and read all this stuff because I was the only one that wasn't like crying because I was just so happy to be clean, like, and be present today for those things. And I got dumped in recovery, like I don't know, like what happened there, but I got through that. I've had a lot of really close friends go back out. That's been hard. Being powerless over those individuals. I've had a lover go back out and making that choice and then having the repercussions for it that are life-changing, and it sucks, but there's absolutely nothing that I can do about it but worry about myself. So, what I can do is I reach out to my women, I talk about it. I reach out. I probably should hit up my sponsor more often and tell her shit. But it's like I have this house of like 7 women, and like they can. I mean, it's all over my face if there's like something going on. So I usually get like barricaded and, you know, like end up telling like not like one person but 5 by the time I leave the house. So it's like I'm like, well, you know, I guess you call at me, like I got it all figured out anyways. You know, so I really appreciate Oxford in that aspect, you know, and stuff, because my women have really been there for me through some fucking shit. And but yeah, and so yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything that I didn't really cover. If, you know, you're new to the program, definitely take the suggestions. You know, you want to pick up that book, you want to get that relief. It's in the steps. That's the only way that's going to keep you doing the next right thing and not get loaded when shit goes sideways. Because no matter, like, how much clean time I have or what's going on in my life, there's always something, like, I don't even know, like, my life has always just been a shit show, but like I can cope with it today, and I don't have to get loaded over it. Because that shit stopped working for me for like a long time ago. Like it just doesn't work. My problems are still there. It was just like this deep hole of misery and depression, and yeah, it was definitely you know, this recovery life is definitely well worth it. I just recently graduated treatment. Only took me like 3 years, but I graduated. Like they're just like, I go there, they're just like, well, you should just get a job. Like you know all this stuff. Like when are you gonna like get on her payroll? And he's not kidding. I got put on limited like a week ago, and I was like, are you sure you want to do this? Like is that a good idea? Like for reals? It's just kind of mind-blowing, you know, what the program can do for you. I get to see my son whenever I want, which has been a huge help and stuff. My daughter, on the other hand, is a different story. Even with a year clean, her dad will not work with me and give me unsupervised visits or more time or an overnight. And that used to take me back out. But today, I can be proactive in that, and, you know, I went and filed for modification a few weeks ago, and taking everything back to court to fight for her, because, she deserves that. And I'm not just going to fucking sit back and not do anything about that, because I deserve this shit today. Like, I worked hard for it, right? So that's what I'm going to do, and yeah, shit's going to get better if I just keep doing the next right thing. And the judge actually signed the paperwork, so yeah, he's going to get served any day now, so it's going to be fun. But yeah, it's what we got to do, you know, to clean up the wreckage that we've caused and stuff, and I'm doing it little by little, and I'll get there. And they say, you know, you didn't lose it all in one day. I mean, I kind of did. Like, it was really fucking fast. You're like, I don't know, like, you know, some people can be junkies or addicts or whatever for 10 years, but, like, the way I go out there, like, I wouldn't have lasted 10 years, so it's probably a good thing I, like, retired. But, anyways, I'm definitely no exception. I know that. I know that all it takes is one bad choice or situation I get myself into, and I could be, you know, that one going back out thinking that the next time was going to be different, or I could use just one more time. But, you know, that's why I still go to meetings, and that's why I reach out to my women, and that's why I haven't moved out of Oxford, and, you know, because that's sometimes what the accountability that you need. So I'm thankful to this program and what it's given me today, and I can't wait to see what 2019 has in store. So that's all I got. Thanks, guys.